Salt. Salt.
Okay, good morning.
Did they or like the Yom Kippur 2 years time?
Okay, today we're going to start on the Mishnah on Mem Gimel Amid Beis. See that right on the bottom, 3 lines to the bottom. Thank Hashem that you're able to learn Torah every day. In the schus of our learning, we should have the base of Mikdash, and also learning for a first name for my father and for Naftali ben Menuch Bela. Okay. On Sunday, we can't learn because it's Tisha B'Av, so we'll learn on Monday. So, right. Okay, we'll be a little behind, but over the week we'll try to catch up.
Hopefully.
Okay, Rabbi Yossi Aimer, we were learning in the Mishnah before what to do if something is forbidden to have benefit from, and the solution that we gave would be to throw it into the sea of salt. Actually the Yam HaMelech, or meant the great ocean? Well, Rabbi Yossi says not necessarily. He says Sheichek Bezer L'Ruach can grind it up and take the dust and throw it into the wind. Zara is to winnow. Just throw it into the wind. Or you can throw it into the ocean. Amrulai, they said you're going to throw it into the wind. Then Afunas Zevel, it's going to become fertilizer. You're not allowed to take anything from the prohibited items. And here you're saying that you can use it as fertilizer. Tanya was taught in a brisa. Amlam Rabbi Yossi responded back. Now, what's happening here is that the Tosefta, this Gemara, there's a lot of things going on in the back of the Gemara, but at the very, very back, the Tosefta on Avodah Zara. Go to Tosefta and see which chapter it is. Perek Daled. No. Because the Tosefta goes through the full conversation that Rabbi Yossi has about this. Do they have it over there? It looks like it's going to be after Perek Hey. That's Tosfos, okay. It says Tosefta Perek Daled. Yeah. Yeah, so we have a much longer conversation. Our Mishnah is just like 2 lines. The Tosefta has another like 8 lines to this. Okay, so in the Tosefta, the conversation goes like this. It says, Rabbi Yossi responds, it says, "V'lik farnemer v'schataschem asher asisim esegel lachkachti v'eser v'sebeish v'ekasei seitachin heitev ad shedak lafa v'ashlav hazafar lanachal yerd minahar." It says, I took the egel, the sin that you committed. I took it, I burnt it in fire. This is Moshe Rabbeinu talking in Sefer Devarim, and I ground it up until it was a fine powder, and I threw it into the ashes. I threw it into the river that was running alongside the mountain. See, you're allowed to have the water going down the river, the ashes, and we're not concerned about that it's going to be used. It's going to be fertilizer, right?
There it seems like double. Like he burned it and then he grind it. Maybe
Yeah, but either way, it would still be fertilizer. So, Amrulai, it's not, it can't be Amrulai, it has to be Amrulai. They said to him, Misham Raya, you bring a proof from there. That's a different story. It says, V'yizer pnei hamayim, V'yizrael pnei hamayim. He took the ashes, he put it onto the water. V'yashkas pnei Yisrael. He had them drink from the water. It says, Le'niskavna l'beitkum kasaitis. Yeah, it ended up in the water, but that water was meant for them to drink. And then when the people that worshipped the idol, if they slaughtered to the idol, then they would get killed by the sword. If they were just hugging and kissing the idol, then they died from askara. And if they were just happy about it, then they had hadroikan, which was some other disease. I forget what it's called. Dropsy, I think they translated it. Anyway, but they were being tested over here like a saita to see if they were guilty. And so they had to drink the water. And so, yeah, it ended up in the river, I guess, whatever wasn't drunken, whatever wasn't drunk. And that's how we answer that question. Amlam Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says, you're telling me that I can't put it into a river or to use the ground up ashes. Just 1 second. We have, it says, V'gam esmacha ima yisira migvira. This is the King Asa, one of the good kings of Israel. I think it says, but he was lame. He had a problem with his legs because he took the Shiva students to the army. It says. So anyway, his mother, he removed her from the throne, Ashasa Miflatzta, because she had made a Miflatzta. The Gemara will explain soon what Miflatzta is. Vayidek, and he took the idol, Vayisref, and he burnt it. Vayidek is, I think he ground it up. And he burnt it, Benachal Kidron, in the valley of Kidron. So you see, he allowed the ashes or the ground up part of the idol to go down the valley. You bring a proof that he let it go into the valley of Kidron. Nachal Kidron, nothing grows in the valley of Kidron. So what are you worried about? It's going to go into the valley. It's not going to fertilize what? There's no growth there. Gemara says, V'loi, nothing grows there. But Tanya, we have a brayso. It says, it says the blood of the inner offering and the blood of the outer offering, which is on Yom Kippur, that blood would get mixed into they had a built-in mopping system in the temple where they would stop up the flow of water, so the water would rise up, the water level would rise, and then they would remove the dam, and all the water would get washed out. Now, when it would get washed out, where would it go? So it would go down the valley, Nachal Kidron, and the farmers that were down on the bottom of the valley, they would actually give money to the temple to use that blood, which was good fertilizer. Why would they have to pay for it? It was going anyway. I guess because it was considered holy. I guess they would pay for it to remove it from its, to like redeem it. Today they use fish meal or something, fish blood, I think, for fertilizer. Yeah, but it's with the water, it couldn't control it like that. It was. No, that's not a benefit. The testing isn't a benefit. Okay, you're telling me that nothing grew there. I'm telling you that we have another source that things would grow there. They used it for fertilizer. It says, well, there's different areas in Nachal Kidron. There's one area where there does grow vegetation. And there's another area where it doesn't grow vegetation. Okay, so this was all the idol of Macha, the mother of Asa, and we said that she had made a meflatzta. And the Gemara asks now, "My meflatzta." What is meflatzta? Rav Yehuda says to have a mafli litzinusa. It was very litzanos means like joking, but it doesn't mean joking over here. It means that it was like inappropriate, promiscuous, licentious. Well, to the Tani, the Havimafli says, Tani Rabbi Yosef, like Rabbi Yosef explained, Min Zachras As-Salah, B'Nevelas Lei B'Chol Yom. She had made, this Mach had made an idol, and she had attached a male organ to this idol, and she had relations with it every day. And this is what he was grinding up and putting in the valley. Rabbi Yossi said, this is continuing the conversation that the sages had with Rabbi Yossi about how to get rid of an idol. Rabbi Yossi allows it to be ground up and thrown to the wind or put into the river, and the sages said that it needs to go into the ocean. And Rabbi Yossi, they were concerned that it's going to be used for fertilizer. Rabbi Yossi wasn't concerned about that. He has supports. So Rabbi Yossi then says, this is Chizkiah. He ground up the copper snake that Moshe had made. People apparently started to use it to worship it. Moshe had made it to heal, right? Everyone who looked up was healed from the plague. And then people started to worship it. So Chizkiah ground it up. And what happened? What did he do with it? Did it end up getting used as fertilizer? What's the end of the verse?
Pulverized.
And then what? After pulverized, what does it say? No. Oh, 21. Taisvus asked, perhaps after pulverizing the serpent, Chizkiah cast the powder into the Dead Sea, and then it's no problem. Since Scripture is narrating an incident in Jewish history, would have included the Dead Sea detail, it does other details. Even though the verse says nothing about Chizkiah scattering the powder to the wind, which facilitates the powder becoming fertilizer, scattering by the wind happens automatically and therefore need not be mentioned. Okay, so it actually doesn't tell us what happened, but we're assuming that if he just left it, it would get scattered by the wind, and then that could be used as fertilizer. So Rabbi Yossi has another proof from Tanakh. That's going to be a proof for Hashem told Moshe, make for you the serpent. That snake was made mishalacha. That's your own. So even if people bow down to it or worship it, they can't make it forbidden. So that was not even an idol. That wasn't, in other words, what Chizkiah was doing was not the halacha of destroying an idol, because someone can't bow down to your fancy car and say, oh, this is my God. And then you say, okay, now I can't drive it because you turned it into an idol. Because he has no right to do that. Something that he doesn't own, he can't make into an idol. So since Moshe Rabbeinu had made the serpent from his own money, so the people bowing down to it doesn't make it forbidden. Then if it's not forbidden, then why did Chizkiah grind it? Because he didn't want them worshiping it. It's not the halacha of the past that it's an idol, it's the future. That he doesn't want them to continue to worship it. He wanted to get rid of it. So he didn't have to grind it up. He just did it to protect them from the future. It wasn't a halacha that it was prohibited to have benefit from. Rabbi Yossi says, but doesn't it say, this is in one of the battles that the people had dropped their idols. And David and his man, Vayisayim, says Vayisayim. Now, Vayisayim could mean carried. It could also mean that he sprinkled it into the wind. So, my mashma, what do you think this means? says the Vayisam David, listen to Dizruyehu. When it says Vayisam David, that David scattered it in. The word Vayisam means that he winnowed it, let it scatter in the wind. The Targum Rabbi Yosef Tizreim Ruach Vatisam, like the Targum Rabbi Yosef would say often the Targum, and before that it wasn't because. Do we have that here? They said usually we say that Rabbi Yosef quotes the Targum, so it wasn't because you're not allowed to say Dvarim Shebeksav Bal Peh. Remember that? Yeah. In Bava Kama. What page in Bava Kama? Yeah. Okay, I saw it in Bava Kama. In Bava Kama, Tosha says that that don't think it's because why is Rabbi Yosef always quoting the Targum? Maybe you can say that Rabbi Yosef was blind, and the written Torah you're not supposed to learn by heart. Only the oral Torah is supposed to be done by heart. So Rabbi Yosef didn't want to do the written Torah by heart because he was blind, so he did the Targum instead, which would be the oral Torah instead of the written Torah. The Targum would be the translation. That would be the oral tradition. So maybe that would explain why Rabbi Yosef is the one that's always quoting the Targum. And he says no. He says that's not a good explanation, because if necessary, you're allowed to quote the Torah Shebeksav Bal Peh, and there's nothing more necessary than for a blind person to know it by heart. So that wouldn't be a good reason. That's what Tosha says. Anyway, whatever the case is, it's all the time in Shas that when it quotes the Targum, it's Rabbi Yosef that's quoting it. Anyway, over there, the pasuk says Tizreim Ruach Vatisayim, that he sprinkled it into the wind, he winnowed it in the wind, and it carried away. Mitagmin the Tizreim Ruach Vatatalinon. It says, yeah, that it was carried away with the wind. So you see that David had ground up those idols and carried it away. Amrullah, they said to Rabbi Yossi, Yisham Raya. There's two Rabbi Yosefs there. There's Rabbi Yossi, who's the one that's our main character. He's the one that's arguing with the sages, and then there's Rabbi Yosef that's quoted much, several hundred years later. That quotes us the Targum or other things. He fills in some points, but it's Rabbi Yossi, which is Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta, that has the strong opinion here. So Amrullah Misham Raya, that's your proof. It says that they burnt it in fire. Since it doesn't say that they burnt it and it carried away, then we learn from this mamash, that they actually took it whole, not that they sprinkled it into the wind. And when it's whole, Vayisam could mean just carried away. When it's whole, it doesn't become fertilizer. It has to be ground up. They have these compost machines where they have basically, like the sink disposals, those things, it grinds up everything. But they have for the compost, they have these things like that they put in the peels and everything becomes compost quickly. Anyway, this is the fertilizer. It says over here, no, that they weren't grinding it up. They were they just carried away the idols. Nevertheless, but we now have a contradiction. One place we think it means that he ground it up. Another place it says that he just carried it away. Marianne says, "Kid Rav Huna." That's what Rav Huna says. Rav Huna Rami. Rav Huna quotes a contradiction. David said, and they burnt it in fire. Another pasuk says that which means that they ground it up and they sprinkled it. It says like kasha. Listen to this. Apparently, Iti Agiti wasn't a Jewish person. Now, a non-Jewish person is able to nullify an idol. He can say we're not worshiping anymore. So before Iti Agiti come, they had to carry it away. They weren't able to sprinkle it in the wind. Once he came and he said it's not an idol, so then they were able to sprinkle it in the wind. it says that he took the crown of Malcolm, which was the name of an idol, and from it on its head, and it weighed a kikar zav, a talent of gold. Gemara asks him, Mishari, is he allowed to take a crown from an idol and use the crown? Isuri Hanan, it belongs to an idol. You're not allowed to have benefit from that. Rav Nachman says, Iti agiti ba bitla. It's not a problem because he had a non-Jew come and nullify it, and then he was allowed to use it before he took it. Remember in the Gemara before where the person slapped him and told him to nullify it? Who was that? That was Reb Lazar Kapar. Right? There was that Shmarmina Tlas, remember? It wasn't yesterday. Yeah, 43A. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we have Itay Hagiti that's coming, and nullifying it. So here we're dealing with a crown. He said now, if it weighs a talent of gold, how's he putting it on his head? That's going to be quite a load. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Rav Yehuda says, name of Rav, David. It was fit to go on his head, not that he actually put it on his head. Because you couldn't lift it and put it on, and it weighed like this, the amount of the menorah. So it was, okay. Rav Yossi Bar Chanina Amar, Rav Yossi Bar Chanina says, no. Evan Sheyeves Darasla. There was a magnet. Evan Sheyeves is a stone that draws. Some sort of magnet that was lifting it up, and David would actually go under it and put his head into it. But meanwhile, it's being held up. 56 pounds is a talent. How much is a talent? And you have to Google that. How much is a talent?
How much is it?
64 pounds?
From 75 to 100.
Between 75 and 100 pounds, or about 35 to 45 kilograms. Okay. It's a machlekes between the art scroll and Siri.
Maybe ChatGPT and Siri that.
Okay. Comes along Alexa and tells us the real answer. Okay. So yeah, it's heavy. It's not impossible. It's just heavy. It's okay. So here we are having this magnet that's holding it up. No, it's not the weight. It's the value. When we said it's a kikar zav, we didn't mean that it weighs a kikar zav. It had one precious stone in there that had the value of a kikar zav. You follow? Because a talent could be a kikar. Is a talent. Talent could be a weight or a value. Okay. Quote the pasuk in Kufyutes. Says, this was for me because I had guarded your mitzvahs, your commandments. My kama, what does David mean that this is to me? So, the Gemara explains, Pachi kamar, Bischar, this is what it means. Bischar shepekudecha natzarti, because I kept your commandments, this crown is a testimony for me. So what's the testimony? Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Shua ben Levi says, David put it on the place of the tefillin, and it was able to fit. The fact that this crown fit David, that was a special merit that he was able to use this crown. The Gemara says, 1 second, tefillin. What about his tefillin? He said he put it on the place of the tefillin. Doesn't David need to wear tefillin? There's There's enough place in the head to have two tefillins. One of them was taken up by the crown. The other one was his own tefillin. Obviously, David did not wear two pairs of tefillin at the same time. Yeah, Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam. He didn't wear them. He didn't wear them both together. Sfardim do because he was busy wearing the crown. Okay. There's a discussion here about what does it mean, right? The Raylan Yachbeis tefillin doesn't mean front and back. They can have one pair here and one pair higher up. It doesn't mean side by side. And Rashi seems to say that it's the ritzuas. There's enough room on the head for the ritzuas. Is there a comment on that?
46.
No, they're ignoring this detail. They're ignoring that. They're not. They're not getting into it. It doesn't seem like it's so clear. Like, okay. Vayetziu. Or a. Or Laniach states tefillin. Notes, Rashi understands this reference to the width of the two phylactery straps. Other early commentators understand referring to the phylacteries themselves. All right. At least they commented on that. Okay. He took out, this was talking about Yoyash, right? Yoyash was his mother, or who was it that had killed everyone? His grandmother, Talia, had killed out all of the royal family, and so they took him and they put him into the temple to hide him. Anyway, when he came out, so it says that they put the crown on him, and Nezer, they put the crown, Raseidus, in the testimony. Nezer, Zuklila. This was the crown, Eidos, in the testimony. Am Rabbi Damarav, Eidos Ilabes David. It's a testimony to the house of David. If you're fit to be a king, the crown will fit you. If you're not fit, if you're not supposed to be the king, then the crown doesn't fit. That was so they took it out, and the crown fits. Okay, he's the new king. Adoniah ben Chagis misnasi leimar ni amlech. Adoniah, one of David's sons, Adoniah, he was the son of Chagit, and he decided that he's going to be the king instead of Shlomo. He says, "I am the king." I'm Rav Yudah Marav. Rav Yudah says, "Name of Rav Shemisnasi laholme v'leilamti." He was misnasi means he lifted himself up to say that I am the king. What really he did was he took the crown, put it on his head, and it turned out it didn't fit. With the shoe?
Crown version.
Right. The shoe fit? Uh-huh. Yeah, very good. We're saying over here it's the origin of Cinderella. Okay. We continue on with Adonio. It says that he made for him riders and chariots. Chamishamish, Ratzon Lefanav, he had 50 people running in front of him. It says, Myra Busai, a big deal, he had 50 people running in front of him. He's a prince, they have people running in front of him. Anna, Kulam Netule Tchol. All of them they had their spleen removed. And that helps them run better. And also, what else did they have? It says that their feet, they took something off the flesh of the feet.
It says that they also consume exterminates.
Where is that?
Rush.
Rashi and Sanhedrin says that they ate something.
Consume certain drugs to improve the performance.
Show me.
Like steroids.
Oh. So Rashi says it wasn't with surgery. That's what they're quoting. Rashi says they removed the spleen with some by certain drugs to help remove the spleen. They ate something that removed the spleen, not that they had a surgery. That's how Rashi learns it. Okay. Okay, we're up to the new Mishnah on Mem Dalet Amud Beis. This is a very famous Mishnah. It says, Shal Proclus ben Philosophus. This fellow by the name of Proclus, he was an idolater, and he's the son of Philosophus. Well, there's one comment that says that son of Philosophus means that he was a philosopher, like Ben Bar Mitzvah, Okay, whatever the case is, or maybe that was just his name. So he asked Rabbi Gamliel Ba'akko in the city of Akko. Rabbi Gamliel was taking a bath in the bathhouse of Aphrodite. It was a bathhouse there that had an idol of Aphrodite in the bathhouse. Aphrodite is a beautiful woman. That's Amar Le. So the Proclus asks Rabbi Gamliel, it says in your Torah, you're not allowed to take anything from what's forbidden. What are you doing here in the bathhouse of Aphrodite? So he tells him, not allowed to answer in Torah. I can't tell you Torah when we're naked in the bathhouse. It's not appropriate. When they left, he said, I didn't come to Aphrodite. Aphrodite came in here. Okay, that's one point. Another point. We don't say that let's make, Aphrodite, this idol, let's decorate it with a bathhouse. We don't say that. We rather say, say we have a bathhouse, let's decorate the bathhouse with Aphrodite. So Aphrodite is serving the bathhouse, not the bathhouse serving Aphrodite. Therefore, there's no problem to go to the bathhouse. The bathhouse bathhouse isn't the idol. Another shot. If it would give you a lot of money, even if I'd pay you a lot, you would not go into your idol naked, balkari, like impure, and urinate in front of the idol. This is standing on top of a biv, which is like a it was like a drain pipe. And everyone is urinating in front of it. It only says what's forbidden is you have to destroy the gods. Something that's treated as a god, that's prohibited. If it's not treated as a god, then it's mutter. Okay, so Rabbi Gamliel has a whole bunch of reasons that he tells him why there's no problem to go into that bathhouse. I think that's clear, right? I think that's clear from the Greeks. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. That's the Aphrodite was the woman. Okay. How did Rabbi Gamliel do this? We're asking, he wasn't even allowed to tell him that I can't answer you in the bathhouse. Because that's a halacha that he can't answer in the bathhouse. can't even say. It's like he said, "Ein Masichem Besuda." Afilu ein Masichem Besuda, ein Masichem Besuda. Which means you're not allowed to talk in a meal. You're not allowed to talk in a meal. You're not allowed to talk in a meal. So what does that mean? It says even to say I can't talk in the meal, I can't talk in the meal. So here, how is he allowed to say I can't talk in the bathhouse? He's talking in the bathhouse. Maybe he said it in a mundane language. He said it in Greek. He didn't say it in Hebrew. Amar Abaya, but Abaya says has nothing to do with the language. Language doesn't matter. You can talk mundane things in Hebrew in the bathhouse, but you're not allowed to talk sacred things even in Greek. You can't talk it in the bathhouse. Yeah, you're obviously allowed to talk in the bathhouse, right? It's only Torah that the Gemara is concerned about. That's clear over here. You're even allowed to speak Hebrew in the bathhouse, right? You just can't say Torah in the bathhouse.
In any language.
Or in any language. Torah in any language. I guess the people, there are people that don't talk in the bathhouse, in the mikveh or whatever. That's probably people that only speak Torah their whole life, like the great, Mikabalim or something. They refuse to talk about anything other than Torah. So they would not talk in the bathhouse. They don't want to talk about anything. That's easier. Easier what?
Because just in case, like you actually say, like, instead of BH, you say the whole thing. You want to say the whole.
Look, in shul, that's where you're not supposed to talk. Not in the bathhouse, it's fine. You can talk. In the shul, that's want to be strict. Don't
It's fine.
Remember so talking in sorry. There you go. There's no one there.
There's only the walls.
Talk to yourself. There was a guy from bringing in 770 years ago, and he was saying how there's always minyanim in 770, and Alter Rebbe writes that you're not allowed to talk when the chazan starts till the last kaddish. It says so you're not allowed to talk in 770 the whole day. That's not happening. That's for everyone schmoozing. But anyway, Tana was taught, you know what? We have to adjust the Mishnah. Rabbi Gamliel wasn't allowed to tell him that he can't talk in the bathhouse because he was in the bathhouse. When he went out, he told him that I'm not allowed to answer you in the bathhouse. Not while he was in the bathhouse. In the bathhouse, he would be saying the halacha. Now, I thought that the Gemara could have given a different answer. I thought the Gemara could have answered that to stop someone from doing a Aveira, maybe you are allowed to. So this person was asking Torah questions in the bathhouse. I had to tell him that, we can't continue this. He was telling him not to talk. You can't talk Torah. I thought that would be acceptable answer, and I'm not seeing that that's the Gemara is not answering that. All right. Amar Rab Chama bar Yosef Baribi Amar Rab Yosha. They discuss if this is supposed to be like this. Maybe it's supposed to be Amar Rab Chama bar Yosef Amar Rab Yosha Baribi or something. Whatever the case is, he says this Rab Chama bar Yosef probably is Rabba's brother-in-law, maybe, because no, not his brother-in-law. It would be his Chama. Yes, maybe Rabba's brother. But Rabba was the son of Rabbi Yosef bar Chama, right? That was Rabba's father. And this would be Chama bar Yosef. I don't know, making that up. The interview says, Tshuva Gnuva, Hishiva Ram Gamliel Leise Hagman. He gave him a deceptive answer. He wasn't perfectly honest with him. He gave him an answer. When you're in a debate, you don't always give the real answer. You give the answer that's going to help you win, but that doesn't mean that that's the truth. So he gave him one of those answers. It's a deception. But I say that it was actually a good answer. What was the deception, the Carmelite, that he told him? He says, this is standing on the drain pipe, and everyone is urinating in front of it. Who cares? That doesn't disprove that being an idol. Rava says that Pa'ar was one of the idols. That people would go to the bathroom in front of it the entire day, and that wouldn't invalidate it. That wouldn't void it from being an idol. It was still an idol. So the fact that they're urinating doesn't mean anything. But I say, this is Rav Chaim Bar Yosef saying, Eina Genuva, that was what Rav Gamliel said was not a deception. Depends. Baal Pa'ar, that's the way they served it. But if you don't serve it like that, then that would be invalidating it from being an idol. Amar Abaya says, no, there's another reason why it was deception. The Karmalei, because he said, I didn't come into its territory, it came into my territory. Who cares if he came into its territory? But it doesn't matter. The main point is, it doesn't matter who was there first, the idol or the bathhouse. The main point is that you don't pay. If you pay, then, and it belongs to an idol, then you're paying, you're giving benefit to the idol. That's right. So you're not allowed to pay. You're not allowed to pay the idol. So you don't want to give payment to the priest of the idol. It wasn't prohibited to have benefit from the bathhouse because we're going to see soon that the bathhouse itself was considered like, for the base of Mikdash, you could be makdish something, you can consecrate something. But for an idol, either it's an idol or it's not an idol. You don't have things that are consecrated towards the idol. You don't have that in the negative. You only have that in holiness. So there would be no problem with the bathhouse that was like consecrated for the idol, as long as you don't pay the priests themselves. So what's the difference? Who came first? There's no problem with it. It says Vani Yomer ain't a gnuva, but Abaya says, I say that it's not a problem because Shaloi b'tevas Ram Gamliel k'b'tevas Achim Dami. Because Ram Gamliel uses the bathhouse. That's more than just a regular person using it. When Gamliel uses it, that's giving it real honor. Because Rabbi Gamliel, that's special. Like they say celebrities use this shampoo. So, okay, it must be special. Okay. Rav Simi Barchi Amar Genufta Mehacha. Rav Simi Barchi says no. The deception was something else. The Kamal Yizui Medes Alabiv. It says that everyone was urinating in front of it. So it says, so what? That doesn't ruin it. It says if you spit in front of the idol, if you urinate in front of the idol, if you throw feces at it, it doesn't nullify the idol. So why is Rabbi Gamliel making it look like he nullified the idol? I say no, it wasn't a deception. What Ram Gamliel said was correct. Because Hasam Lafi Sharta, who Ratachalava, the Mafisla. That what's going on over there was he probably went to the horse races or something, and he thought his idol had told him which one to bet on, and he lost. So he was upset with the idol. So he threw it down, he spat on it, he urinated on it, and this. But that doesn't mean that it's not an idol. That's the way he gets along with his idol. He does that sometimes. Next day he's going to take it back. But over here, you set it up to urinate on it entirely. That means that it's not being used as an idol at all. not like he's temporarily upset with it. Rabba Barula, Amar Rabba Barula says, it's this, the deception of Ram Gamliel's argument was from this. The Kamalei Ein Aimrim Nasa Merchatz Noila Fedaidel Nasa Fedaidel Merchatz said, we don't say let's make a bathhouse as a decoration for the Aphroditus. Rather, we say, or rather, it's said that let us make Aphroditus a decoration for the bathhouse. And who cares if you're going to say, let's make the bathhouse a decoration for Aphrodite? Well, who cares? By Tanya, we have a brisa that says, there's no such thing as dedicating something to an idol. It's either an idol or an offering to an idol, which means it's burnt, or it's nothing. And I say in a genuva, it's not a deception. Even though it would not be it won't be prohibited, but it would still be making it beautiful. Now let me see how we explain it. Chama Bar Yosef disagrees, and I say that it's not a deceptive answer. Although the bathhouse would not be rendered forbidden as an object of idol worship due to a verbal designation, it would at least have the status of an adornment of an object of an idol, which is also forbidden. And the explanation in the commentary accords with the understanding of Tosfos. Rashi explains that although the bathhouse is not technically forbidden, bathing therein is a sort of adornment and is therefore prohibited, as it causes the embellishment of an object dedicated to idol worship. Along similar lines, the Meiri writes that although use of the bathhouse is technically permitted, it is proper for an important person to abstain from using it. The Ravid explains that it is prohibited to use the bathhouse because the act of erecting the idolatrous statue as an adornment in the bathhouse can be viewed as a physical consecration of the bathhouse and not just a verbal one. Okay, that's not clear from the Gemara what the Ravid is saying. But the other interpretations is that basically even though it would be permissible, but it's not appropriate. Unless you say that it's not an idol because it came first, or but bathhouse was first. Okay, let's leave it over here. Have a good Shabbos, everyone.